Kal Kadosh, I just wanted to share with you a beautiful idea that I saw in this week's Parashat. We read the double Parashat of Matot and Masee. And Parashat Masee, which is the second one, deals with the travelings, the journeys of Bene Yisrael in the desert. And it goes through 42 different pit stops, 42 different travelings. And I wanted to focus on the following message. There was a beautiful story, which is actually very touching and sad, but it's to illustrate to us the point. There's a story with a young child, an only child, that at a very, very young age of already infancy, a little bit bigger, his mother, beloved mother that loved him so much, passed away. And as you can note, obviously he was suffering. The father has to move on in life. So the father gets remarried, but there was no connection. There wasn't a bond between him and the stepmother. They just didn't get along. So it started becoming worse and worse. All of a sudden, his father with his new wife, they start having new children. And then it becomes even worse because she starts differentiating incredibly between her own children and between this only child. So the child is suffering bitterly for years. And what happens is that he finds no consolation other than he's going to run to the Bet HaMidrash. And his father always brings him food. And he only comes home late at night in order to wish that he doesn't see his stepmother. And that's the way that he continues going. And that's how he's growing up through his life. It gets to the time of Shidduchim. And already when it's by the Shidduchim time, what happens is that his father, he organizes a shidduch with an incredible kala from out of town. Kala, na'ava, chasuda, tzadika, everything that you want. And they make the preparations and they're going to get married in the kala's town. So the father, he gets ready and they're sitting down in a wagon and they start traveling to her city. On the way there, they only leave the city. And after a few minutes, this child, and now is obviously a bachur, he turns around and he comes and he starts looking at the distance of the city that he's leaving. And he asks the wagon driver, how much have we already traveled away from the city? So the wagon driver says, okay, mile, 2 miles. We continue going. After another few minutes, the same thing. Okay, fine. The wagon driver has his patience and he continues answering. The father starts asking, how much longer do we have until we reach the next city? And he continues going. Tells him, whatever, I don't know how many miles are left. And he continues. Finally, the wagon driver just stops and he says, listen, guys, I just want to understand one thing. You're both asking me similar questions, but why don't you ask it to me in the same form? Why is the son coming and asking in one way and you're asking another? What's going on here? So the father, with his wisdom, comes and he explains to the wagon driver as follows. He says the difference in the difference in how we texted and we asked our question is based on the following fundamental concept behind it. He says, you should know my child. He suffered a lot in this city. He didn't have a good upbringing. I tried my best, but it was very difficult. And therefore, when he's looking back at that city, all he's trying to look at is to run away from it. He's trying to see, I cannot stand this. How much have I distanced myself from that city? Because all he comes and he relates with that city is misery, of an upbringing of problems, of suffering, losing whether it's his mother, not having a connection with his stepmother. That's what he feels. But he doesn't know what he's going to. He doesn't know the kala that I got him, that he's going to get married to. He still doesn't know her well enough. So that's why he's not asking. For me, it's the exact opposite. For me, I'm trying to ask and I'm trying to say, when will my son again be happy? When will he be able to connect and to bond and to form a new family? in order that he'll find happiness for the rest of his life. And that's why I'm asking, how much longer do we have until we get to the city? I'm not focusing on the past, on the troubles and the sufferings. I'm focusing on the future, on the bright future. In this week's parasha, when we start, the exact same concept is brought down. In Bamidbar Lamed Gimel Bet, it says, "Vayichtov Moshe et motzaehem lemasehem." Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he writes their travelings at the starting points, Al Pi Hashem, according to the mouth of Hashem. Ve'lemasehem lemotzaehem, and these are the travelings to their starting points. So again, it's inverting the words. At the beginning, it says motzaehem when they're coming out, lemasehem to their travelings, and then Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he switches it. They're traveling to when there's coming out. What's going on exactly? And therefore, the Dubno Magi, the Magi Dubna comes, and he says that this is the mashal, this is the parable, which explains to us everything which is going on. The secret, the key to understanding what happened. Bene Yisrael, all they knew was they had to leave Egypt. They turned around and they saw Egypt behind them, and all they knew was suffering. All they knew was all their turbulences and the trials and the babies being killed, everything that happened. They couldn't take it, all the calamities. They were suffering. So therefore, their entire traveling was for one point. We're traveling forward to run away from where we came out from. That was their message. But they don't know where they're going. They don't know what is Eretz Yisrael, the Torah, Kedusha. They're lost. They don't know that. Moshe Rabbeinu, though, understands that very well. So therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he purposely inverts it to teach them, no, it's not only just where you're coming out from. I'm going to take you to a place which is much better. So therefore, don't always look at the past. Look at the bright future. And this is talking about the journeys. However, though, Kam Chachamim, and they say, we could learn another message from here. It says, what does it say? We have to travel, limotzaim, we have to travel to get out of it. What does that mean? Kam Chachamim, and they say, we always have to get out to break through in order to start becoming better. Sur mera v'asetov. Break free of our chains. Start getting rid of bad habits. Start changing our forms. And then Bezrat Hashem we could do v'asetov. This is so important to understand because that's what Chazal was actually teaching us from these words. When they were saying Masehem lemotzaehem, we have to travel out of it, to travel away from what we were in order to continue growing. However, though, one of the main yesodot, which I think we could really bring out of this, is as follows. There are 42 different travelings, journeys that they traveled in the desert. Some of them just say the names. Just they went from here and they traveled to here. They went from here, they went to there. They went to there, went to there. Very, very short and to the point, concise. Certain big episodes and scenarios that happened to Am Yisrael, they were mentioned in 2 different words. Kriyat Yam Suf, right, was just written Derech Hayam, right? Many of them was not written. Korach, the Machlok of Korach, all the different, the Egel HaZahav, tons of things, the Meraglim, the Mitoranim, the spies, all these things that weren't really there. So what's the real message hidden behind it? Obviously, the Torah is not just telling us, listen, you know what, there was a beautiful diary. And in the diary, it was written that they traveled on August 1st to here, and then on August 2nd there, and then August. What does that come to teach us? So the Baal Shem Tov comes and he says something incredible. He says every single person in this world has 42 travelings, 42 different journeys. It starts from the Yetziat Mitzrayim. When they come out from the mother's womb, from the uterus, what happens is that all of a sudden, it's like a Yetziat Mitzrayim, we came from somewhere where it was enclosed, and now we come out into the world. And already starting from our youth, we come and we have to travel 42 different stops until we get to the Olam Haba, to our real place where we're supposed to get to. And it's something incredible. Why? Because we have to realize that. Some people, they want to travel and they want to jump. They want to get from here to up there in 2 shots. They don't realize it's a journey. Life is a journey. You can't get there in one stop. It takes time. And it's impossible to jump. Because what happens is that when we jump, we don't actually succeed in what we're doing. And therefore, it's so important to realize that everything that we're actually doing in life is actually supposed to teach us this. Why is it supposed to teach us this? Because every single time that we're traveling from one place to another, we have to realize to be very, very careful. Why do we have to be very, very careful? Do we know that also Am Yisrael also went through 42 travels? And even now in our exile, we go through the travels as well. And that's why the Rav Chida comes and he says in Sefer Nachal Kidumim, the acronym, the first letters of Ele Masee Bene Yisrael, these are the travels of Bene Yisrael, is the Rashet Tevot of Edom, Madai, Bavel, Yavan, right, which are all the 4 exiles that we're going to transpire throughout the exile, which in essence is teaching us that we also have to go through life in different stages. Nobody actually passes it in one shot, and each one is a different step. We have to utilize that. But why do we have to be so careful? Do we know, Chazal say that all the paths are always dangerous. That's why whenever we travel, we say the entire concept of the Nesiah, Laderech, when we're coming, we're going to say Yehi Ratzon, Tfilat HaDerech, we're going to pray on the path. When we come safely, sometimes we'll even bless HaGomel, that he took us out and he saved us. What exactly, why is that? So Kan Chachamim, and they say a very important message. And they say as follows. Do you know that every single time when you're going to come and you're going to pick up your feet, there's a little moment when you have only one foot on the ground and one foot's in the air. That moment is your weak point. That's the moment that a person could come and push you and you can fall easily. And the reason why is because you don't have the straight balance. You don't have your both feet on the ground. You're traveling, you're walking, you're in the middle of doing something. And therefore what happens is that that's where the enemy will always try to come. All the drachim, all paths are always a danger, which means every single time in life where we're going to one step to another step, it could be changing jobs, it could be changing communities, it could be changing places of living, it could be changing anything where we're doing yeshivot, anything, schools, anything that we are going to change is a time of danger. How do we see this? Amalek. Do we realize that Amalek was always asher karecha baderech? They were always on the path looking for us. And that's what the enemy tries to do. The enemy will always not come and try to use all their force. Sometimes the enemy will use our own force against us. They'll see when we're not 100% off guard, that's when they're going to come and push us. Because that's when we could fall. And it's very, very easy to fall. So Kal Chachamim, and they say, think about it. Throughout history, that was their tactics. Amalek, and that's a Satan always trying to do it as well. What does Amalek always do? Always on the path. Whether it was with, when we had the Milchama of Amalek, we're traveling through, we just finished with all the courageous, the Kriyat Yam Suf, the dividing of the sea and everything. And what happens? Amalek jumps upon us. Where else do we have it? When we're coming also with Shaul, where we're going to start shifting between the kingdom of Shaul and the kingdom of David HaMelech. All of a sudden, Amalek comes to fight. Where else do we have it? Haman. We were going to start changing to go back from the Galut of Bavel to the building of the Bet HaMikdash. Again, you have Amalek there. Amalek is always waiting on the paths because he's always waiting, like the Satan, when we're going to change, to do something. It could be a pattern. Why do you think that many times when we change the hour, everyone gets knocked down? You have people that they could be coming to a certain minyan every single day. They change the hour, everything's off. Right? Jet lag, what happened? All of a sudden, it's a change. It could be a change in anything. And change will all of a sudden be very, very vital to our continued success. So Kam Chachamim, and they say that that's why it's so important to realize what we're mentioning now. Why? We have to understand that in order for us to have success in what we're doing, we have to connect it always with Torah. For example, it's written that we have day and we have night. What is the ma'avar? Where is this switching that we are, as if to say, going from day to night? It's called Ben Hashmashot, twilight. Twilight is the time when all the mazikin were created, as brought down in Avot. All these dangerous things were created during twilight. In order for us to safely bypass that and to go through it, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to connect the daytime and the nighttime. How do you connect it? Through Torah, through Tefillah. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to do these things. Because by always doing that, what happens is that when you're connecting them together, you're not actually losing anything. You're making like a safe bridge. So you're going from one place to another, and you're getting rid of this danger of falling in between the cracks because you're in the middle of a move. You're in the middle of a change. And that's why Kam Chachamim, and they say that we're always incumbent to be very careful. And therefore, if we're just going to understand this lesson of the journeys through life, it's not just written in the Torah for Stam. It had a lot of messages to teach us. The first message that it was coming to teach us is that many times through life, we try to run away from the past. And we don't really focus on the bright future that we have in front of us. But we don't realize that Bemet, it is a bright future. And when we were running away from the past, only because of the past we were able to come to a bright future. And that was the stepping stone that we needed to get there. And Kam Chachamim, and they say, not only that, realize that when we're traveling, we have to get out of bad habits, and then we go to start something new. Sur mera v'asetov. Go out from the bad, and then you're going to start fresh, start something new. Third thing, Kam Chachamim, and say, life is a journey. Do not expect to accomplish everything in one shot. We must realize there's always steps. There's 42 steps in every single person's life until they get to the Olam Haba. Starting from when we come out from our mother's womb until we get there. And every single one of us have to pass that. And therefore to have patience. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of stops on the way. And let's try to utilize those stops. But the last message was, be careful by every stop. Because every single time when we're shifting from one place to another, it's a time of danger. It's a time that we're not ready. We could fall. And I've seen that. I know that there's a certain person that he'll come, and when he becomes on fire, you light him up, you can't stop him. You can't stop him. All of a sudden will come Elul, and he'll start doing teshuvah. He'll be there every single morning, the first one. He'll be there learning all the time. If he wants to come learning, he'll drive the rabbi crazy, right, left, and center. He won't let him sleep. The entire thing is just learn and learn and learn and learn. However, though, I know that what happens is all needs a little bit of change. Something needs to switch, and all of a sudden you lose everything. And that's exactly what I see also with this virus. Unfortunately, and this is what we always have to learn in life, unfortunately, we had a lot of people that they were on the stronghold, doing Daf Yomi every single day. It was very, very strong. Just in the middle of January, we finished Masee Berachot. We were going to start Shabbat. And then all of a sudden, everyone's going strong, all shiurim and tefillot, and everyone's coming, and everyone's learning, and everyone's enjoying themselves. And all of a sudden, what happens? A virus comes and it switches, it changes. All of a sudden, we're put in exile. One exile is one place, another place, backyard minyanim, going back and forth, and you even have to cancel that, and everyone's in quarantine, and then you're going back. And what do we see? Every single time there's a change, we go backwards. But why? Because we have to focus on the future. Be very cautious when we're doing that change. Because if we're not going to be watching, you have a Malek always on the door. You always have the Satan that's there always watching. And whenever we're not going to be careful, he's going to push us. And if we don't have our 2 feet on the ground, which that's when we're steadfast in everything that we're doing, Chas v'Shalom, we could actually fall. So therefore, Be'ezrat Hashem, I just hope that we could learn from these messages of the Masee, how the travels and the journeys of life are so important in order that we could utilize them to grow, to continue growing in Turat Shirat Shamayim, right? Stop our bad habits and start becoming closer to Hashem, realizing Bezrat Hashem that there will always be a better and a brighter future, and that we should not just run away from the past because of that. And Bezrat Hashem, hopefully we have to actually learn and say, you know what? Let me connect the night with the day. Let me connect the day with the night, right? And that's the concept of always learning Torah and Tefillah. The Shlach Kadosh brings that down to do with always connecting it through Torah and Tefillah. And that's why a lot of places they'll do Mincha, they'll do Shiur and then Arvit, right? And the same thing they'll do in the Shachrit. That they'll do, for example, Torah and then Shachrit. Because right before Shachrit, why? Because they want to connect the day with the night. Whenever you're making a connection, a bridge between them, you're protecting yourself in order that even though there's going to be a change, you're always going to be ready. And you're not actually you're doing it gradually, that it's going to protect us, B'ezrat Hashem. I just hope that we could all enjoy, we should all have success, health, and all the brachot. Shabbat Shalom. Missing you here. Looking forward to seeing you all. Kol Tuv, Shabbat Shalom.